Captain Elena Martinez stood frozen at the grand ballroom entrance, watching Queen Isabella raise a simple glass of water toward the Zephyrian ambassador. Every instinct screamed danger. The alien diplomat's blue-scaled skin had shifted from silver to deep purple, a color she'd never seen before. Ambassador Krell's three eyes were locked on the glass with an intensity that made her hand move instinctively toward her weapon. The reception hall held 47 beings from 12 different worlds, all here to witness the historic trade agreement signing. Elena's team of 6 guards had positioned themselves perfectly around the perimeter, but nothing in their extensive briefing had prepared them for this moment. The Queen's private physician, Dr. Nathan Cross, had specifically instructed that only Terran spring water be served to their human dignitaries, while the aliens received their respective atmospheric beverages. Krell's breathing apparatus, a delicate silver mesh covering his lower face, began emitting rapid clicking sounds. His aide, a smaller Zephyrian named Vex, stepped backwards so quickly that he knocked into Ambassador Morris from the Centauri delegation. The domino effect sent a ripple of confusion through the carefully orchestrated ceremony. Elena caught the eye of Sergeant Kevin Blake, her second-in-command, positioned near the orchestra platform. His subtle nod confirmed he'd noticed the same alarming shift in the room's energy. The Zephyrian delegation had gone completely silent, their usual musical communication replaced by an ominous stillness that seemed to suck the warmth from the ornate chamber. Queen Isabella, oblivious to the mounting tension, continued her prepared remarks about unity and cooperation between worlds. Her voice carried across the marble floors and crystal chandeliers with practiced grace, but Elena noticed how Ambassador Krell's clawed hands had begun trembling. The water glass in the Queen's grip caught the light from overhead fixtures, creating dancing reflections across the alien's face. Prime Minister Patricia Wells stood 3 feet behind the Queen, her diplomatic smile frozen in place as she too began to sense something had shifted. Elena watched the older woman's eyes dart between the Zephyrian delegation and the Queen, calculation replacing ceremony in her expression. The weight of 3 years of delicate negotiations hung in the air like incense. The Martian trade representative, Colonel Frank Mason, had stopped mid-conversation with his Luna colony counterpart. His military background had clearly kicked in as he assessed exit routes and potential threats with the same systematic approach Elena employed daily. She respected his awareness, even as protocol demanded she remain focused on her primary responsibility. Ambassador Krell suddenly stepped forward, his towering frame casting a shadow across the Queen's position. Elena's muscles coiled for action, but years of training held her in place. Royal protection required reading threats before they materialized, not reacting to every unusual movement. Yet something in the alien's posture suggested urgency rather than aggression. The clicking from Krell's breathing apparatus intensified, creating a rhythm that seemed almost like speech to Elena's trained ear. She'd studied 17 different alien communication methods during her certification, but Zephyrian atmospheric language remained beyond human comprehension. Only their universal translators could bridge that gap, and those devices had been temporarily disabled during the ceremony to prevent technical interference with the broadcast equipment. Queen Isabella paused in her speech, finally noticing the shift in her audience. Her composure remained flawless, but Elena caught the slight tightening around her eyes that indicated concern. The Queen's intelligence had always impressed her security team, and this moment proved why the monarchy had survived countless challenges throughout history. Dr. Fried Stamberries Cross stepped closer to his medical monitoring station, situated discreetly behind a decorative pillar. Elena noticed his attention wasn't focused on the human dignitaries as expected, but rather on the Zephyrian delegation. His face had gone pale, and his hands moved quickly across his diagnostic equipment with an urgency that sent ice through her veins. The water glass remained suspended in Queen Isabella's graceful grip, an innocent object that had somehow become the focal point of 47 pairs of eyes. Elena's communication device vibrated against her wrist, indicating an incoming priority message from her intelligence coordinator. The timing couldn't be worse, but royal protection protocols demanded she remain visible and alert during active ceremonies. Ambassador Krell's aide Vex began gesturing frantically in his species' traditional signing pattern. Elena recognized the movements as expressions of extreme distress, possibly even warnings. The smaller alien's behavior had become increasingly agitated with each second that passed, his silver scales now showing patches of the same purple discoloration that marked his superior. The orchestra had stopped playing without being instructed, their human instincts recognizing that something had fundamentally changed in the room's atmosphere. Elena counted 17 separate conversations that had died mid-sentence, leaving only the clicking of Zephyrian breathing apparatus and the soft humming of environmental systems maintaining atmosphere for all species present. Queen Isabella's eyes met Elena's across the crowded ballroom. In that brief connection, Elena saw recognition of the situation's gravity and complete trust in her security team's judgment. The Queen's slight nod gave Elena permission to take whatever action was necessary to protect everyone in the room. Time slowed as Elena processed the collision of protocol, instinct, and impossible choices that would define the next crucial seconds. Elena's secure communication channel crackled with Dr. Cross's urgent voice. The water is contaminated with trace amounts of Centauri mineral extract, fatal to Zephyrians through atmospheric exposure alone. The medical officer's words hit her with the force of physical impact. Queen Isabella stood 12 feet away, still holding the glass that could trigger an interspecies incident. Moving with calculated precision, Elena approached the Queen's position while signaling Sergeant Blake to begin evacuating the Zephyrian delegation. Every eye in the ballroom tracked her movement, but she maintained the calm demeanor that had earned her command of the Royal Protection Detail. The Queen's safety remained paramount, but diplomatic catastrophe loomed with equal weight. Ambassador Krell's breathing apparatus emitted a sharp whistle, and his massive form swayed slightly. Elena recognized the early stages of Centauri poisoning from her xenobiology training. The ambassador had perhaps minutes before the exposure became life-threatening, yet protocol demanded she prioritize the Queen's protection above all else. The impossible mathematics of royal duty crashed against her moral instincts. Prime Minister Wells stepped forward, her political instincts finally catching up with the medical crisis unfolding before them. Your Majesty, perhaps we should postpone the toast until our technical staff can verify the ceremonial preparations. Her diplomatic language provided cover while Elena worked to remove the immediate threat. Queen Isabella's intelligence shone through her response. Without hesitation, she set the water glass on the nearest table and clasped her hands together in a gesture of respect toward the Zephyrian delegation. Ambassador Krell, your comfort is our highest priority. Would your delegation prefer to continue in one of our atmospheric control chambers? Elena felt her admiration for the Queen reach new heights as she watched the monarch navigate the crisis with grace that would protect everyone's dignity. Meanwhile, Dr. Cross had already begun moving toward the Zephyrian delegation with his emergency medical kit, his movements professional but urgent. Sergeant Blake executed the evacuation with military precision, guiding Ambassador Krell and his aide toward the chamber's emergency environmental controls. The other alien delegations remained in place, their various atmospheric requirements making mass evacuation impractical. Elena noted how Colonel Mason had positioned himself to assist if needed, his training evident in every calculated movement. The Martian trade representative approached Elena directly, his voice low enough to avoid causing panic. Captain, my medical scanners are detecting elevated stress indicators from multiple species. Should we implement general evacuation protocols? His question forced Elena to weigh immediate safety against long-term diplomatic consequences. Ambassador Krell's condition deteriorated rapidly as Dr. Cross reached his position. The physician's scanner readings confirmed what Elena had feared. The Centauri contamination had been absorbed through the ambassador's respiratory system, requiring immediate treatment that their mobile medical station couldn't provide. The nearest fully equipped xenobiological treatment facility was 20 minutes away. Elena's tactical training took control as she assessed transportation options. The Royal Medical Transport could reach the facility in 12 minutes, but removing Queen Isabella's protection detail during an active ceremony violated every protocol in the handbook. Yet allowing Ambassador Krell to suffer permanent damage would destroy 3 years of careful negotiations. Queen Isabella solved Elena's dilemma with characteristic decisiveness. Captain Martinez, please escort Ambassador Krell to our medical facility immediately. Dr. Cross, accompany them with full treatment authorization. Prime Minister Wells and I will continue the ceremony with appropriate modifications. The Queen's command carried absolute authority while demonstrating perfect understanding of the situation's complexity. Sergeant Blake's voice reached Elena through their secure channel. Medical transport standing by. Dr. Cross confirms the ambassador needs immediate treatment, but the contamination source hasn't been identified. Potential sabotage can't be ruled out. His words added another layer of danger to an already impossible situation. Elena made her decision with the clarity that had defined her career. Blake, maintain Queen's protection with Alpha Team. Carter, sweep the preparation areas with detection equipment. I'm escorting the ambassador personally. She turned toward Queen Isabella, who nodded her approval before Elena could speak. Ambassador Krell's aide, Vex, approached Elena with obvious distress. His translator device had been reactivated, allowing him to communicate directly. Captain Martinez, the ambassador requires atmospheric pressure adjustment during transport. Our medical protocols are complex. His concern added technical challenges to an already critical timeline. Dr. Cross answered before Elena could respond. I've studied Zephyrian physiology extensively. The transport pod can maintain proper atmospheric conditions for 40 minutes. We have sufficient safety margin if we leave immediately. His confidence provided the reassurance Elena needed to move forward with the emergency evacuation. The ballroom had transformed from a celebration into a controlled crisis management exercise. Elena watched Queen Isabella address the remaining delegates with poise that would be remembered for decades. The monarch's ability to maintain diplomatic relationships while protecting everyone's safety demonstrated why the monarchy remained relevant in an interstellar age. As Elena guided Ambassador Krell toward the emergency exit, she caught sight of Prime Minister Wells coordinating with the various alien delegations. The older woman's experience showed as she managed information flow and prevented panic while maintaining the ceremony's essential diplomatic functions. The partnership between monarchy and government had never seemed more crucial. The transport pod's doors sealed with a soft hiss as Dr. Cross began emergency treatment procedures. Elena watched the ballroom recede through the vehicle's transparent panels, knowing that Queen Isabella remained protected by her capable team while she fulfilled an equally vital mission. The Royal Medical Transport Bay gleamed under sterile lighting as Dr. Cross worked to stabilize Ambassador Krell's condition. Elena stood guard while monitoring communications from the ballroom, where Queen Isabella had successfully redirected the ceremony toward other diplomatic achievements. The Queen's adaptability under pressure reinforced Elena's loyalty and professional pride. Ambassador Krell's breathing steadied as Dr. Cross administered the specialized treatment. The alien diplomat's eyes, all three of them, focused on Elena with unmistakable gratitude. Through his translator, he managed to speak despite his weakened condition. Captain Martinez, your quick action has saved not only my life, but the future of our people's relationship. Elena maintained her professional demeanor while processing the magnitude of what had just occurred. A simple glass of water had nearly triggered an interspecies medical emergency and diplomatic disaster. The contamination source remained unknown, raising questions about security protocols and potential sabotage that would require extensive investigation. Dr. Cross completed his initial assessment and turned to Elena with cautious optimism. The ambassador will recover fully with proper treatment. However, this incident highlights gaps in our multi-species event preparation that need immediate attention. His clinical perspective would prove valuable in preventing future crises. The medical facility's main treatment center bustled with activity as specialists prepared for Ambassador Krell's arrival. Elena coordinated with facility security to ensure proper protection while maintaining the confidentiality essential for ongoing diplomatic relations. Every decision carried consequences that extended far beyond the immediate medical crisis. Queen Isabella's voice reached Elena through her secure communicator, warm with concern and authority. Captain, status report on our ambassador's condition, please. The Queen's personal involvement in the crisis demonstrated her commitment to the individuals behind the diplomatic positions, a quality that distinguished her reign. Elena responded with military precision, while watching Dr. Cross monitor Ambassador Krell's vital signs. Your Majesty, Ambassador Krell is receiving excellent care and his condition is stabilizing. Dr. Cross expects full recovery with appropriate treatment duration. We're investigating the contamination source as a priority matter. The transport pod settled into the medical facility's receiving bay with practiced efficiency. Elena noticed how the alien medical staff moved seamlessly alongside their human colleagues, a testament to the integration that made interspecies cooperation possible. The sight reinforced why protecting these relationships mattered beyond mere diplomatic formality. Ambassador Krell's aide Vex had accompanied them during the emergency transport. His concern for his superior mixed with obvious respect for the human response to the crisis. Through his translator, he addressed Elena directly. "Captain, your people's swift action will be remembered by our entire delegation. This kindness strengthens bonds that transcend formal treaties." Dr. Cross emerged from the initial treatment room with encouraging news. Ambassador Krell will need 6 hours of specialized atmospheric therapy, but there will be no permanent effects from the exposure. I've also identified the specific mineral compound that caused the reaction, which will help prevent future incidents. His thoroughness provided both immediate relief and long-term solutions. Elena felt the tension in her shoulders ease slightly as the immediate medical crisis moved toward resolution. However, her security training kept her focused on the larger implications. Someone had either made a catastrophic error in ceremonial preparation or deliberately contaminated the royal reception. Either possibility demanded investigation. The facility's communication center connected Elena directly to Sergeant Blake at the ballroom. His report brought mixed news. Queen's security remains optimal. Ceremony concluded successfully with modified protocols. However, preliminary investigation suggests the contamination might have been intentional. We're securing all preparation areas pending full analysis. Elena's jaw tightened as the implications became clear. If sabotage had been attempted, the threat extended beyond Ambassador Krell to every being present at the reception. The complexity of multi-species events created numerous vulnerability points that required constant vigilance. Her team would need to completely review their security protocols. Queen Isabella's voice reached her again through the secure channel, this time with the tone Elena recognized as preparation for difficult decisions. "Captain, I'm extending the invitation for Ambassador Krell and his delegation to remain as our guests until he's fully recovered. Please coordinate appropriate security measures for an extended visit." The Queen's decision demonstrated both diplomatic wisdom and personal compassion, but it also created new security challenges for Elena's team. Extended protection details required different resource allocation and coordination protocols. Elena began mentally organizing the necessary adjustments while maintaining focus on Ambassador Krell's immediate needs. Dr. Cross approached with final assessment data that would influence all future multi-species events. "Captain, I recommend implementing mandatory atmospheric compatibility screening for all ceremonial materials. This incident could have been prevented with proper testing protocols." His suggestion would require significant policy changes but could prevent future tragedies. Elena nodded while processing the implications of enhanced security measures. The balance between hospitality and protection had shifted permanently, requiring adaptation from everyone involved in royal protocol. She looked at Ambassador Krell, now resting comfortably under proper medical care, knowing that this moment would influence interspecies relations for decades. The medical facility's quiet efficiency provided a stark contrast to the ballroom's earlier chaos. Elena found herself reflecting on how quickly diplomatic celebrations could transform into life-threatening emergencies. Her role as royal protector extended far beyond guarding against traditional threats to encompass challenges that previous generations could never have imagined. Ambassador Krell's recovery proceeded smoothly through the specialized treatment protocols, but Elena's investigation into the contamination source revealed disturbing possibilities. The preliminary forensic analysis suggested deliberate introduction of Centauri minerals into the ceremonial water supply, pointing towards sabotage rather than accidental contamination. This revelation transformed a medical emergency into a potential security breach with far-reaching implications. Dr. Cross presented his findings to Elena in the facility's secure briefing room. The mineral concentration was precisely calibrated to affect Zephyrian respiratory systems without harming other species present. This level of specificity requires advanced knowledge of alien physiology and access to restricted materials. His analysis confirmed Elena's worst fears about deliberate targeting. Elena contacted Sergeant Blake immediately to coordinate expanded security measures. The ballroom investigation had uncovered evidence of unauthorized access to the ceremonial preparation areas 12 hours before the reception. Security footage showed a figure in maintenance clothing who didn't match any scheduled personnel, suggesting professional infiltration rather than random sabotage. Queen Isabella arrived at the medical facility with a discreet security detail, her personal concern for Ambassador Krell overriding standard protocol that would have kept her at the palace. Elena watched the Queen interact with the recovering diplomat, noting how her genuine empathy created bonds that formal treaties couldn't establish. The monarch's presence transformed a political crisis into a personal relationship. Ambassador Krell had regained enough strength to communicate effectively, and his first words to Queen Isabella reinforced Elena's assessment of the situation's significance. "Your Majesty, the swift response from your people has proven that our species can trust each other completely. This incident, while frightening, has actually strengthened our alliance in ways that formal ceremonies could not achieve." The Queen's response demonstrated the diplomatic skill that had characterized her reign. "Ambassador, your well-being is our responsibility and our privilege. We will discover who attempted to harm you and ensure such threats never endanger any guest in our realm again." Her promise carried the weight of royal authority while expressing personal commitment to justice. Elena's communication device signaled an urgent message from the intelligence division. The investigation had identified the saboteur as Marcus Webb, a former embassy security contractor with access to multi-species protocols and grievances. His capture had occurred without incident. An initial interrogation revealed a broader conspiracy involving fringe groups opposed to interspecies cooperation. Dr. Cross interrupted with medical updates that provided both relief and ongoing concerns. "Ambassador Krell's recovery is progressing exceptionally well, but we've discovered that 3 other alien delegates showed early signs of mineral exposure. Fortunately, their species have higher tolerance levels, preventing serious symptoms." The revelation expanded the scope of the attack beyond its primary target. Elena coordinated with facility security to implement enhanced protection for all the affected delegates while maintaining the discretion necessary for ongoing diplomatic relations. The balance between transparency and security required careful navigation, particularly given the international attention focused on the historic trade negotiations. Prime Minister Wells arrived with a full briefing on the sabotage investigation and its political implications. Her discussion with Queen Isabella covered not only immediate security concerns, but also the long-term effects on public confidence in multi-species events. Elena listened from her position near Ambassador Krell, recognizing how the crisis had become a defining moment for interstellar diplomacy. The Zephyrian aide, Vex, approached Elena with information that added another dimension to the investigation. "Captain Martinez, our embassy received threats before this reception. We chose not to report them because they seemed like routine anti-alien sentiment. Perhaps we should have been more cautious." His admission highlighted communication gaps that had contributed to the security failure. Elena processed this new information while maintaining her protective stance near the recovering ambassador. The failure to report threats violated established protocols, but she understood the complex pressures that alien delegations faced when deciding whether to share security concerns. Her team would need to establish better communication channels for future events. Queen Isabella's conversation with Ambassador Krell revealed the deeper implications of the attack's failure. "Your recovery and continued presence here sends a powerful message to those who would divide our species through violence. We must show strength through unity, not retreat into isolation." The monarch's vision transformed a security failure into a diplomatic opportunity. Dr. Cross presented his final medical assessment with recommendations that would reshape multi-species event protocols. "All affected delegates will recover completely, but we need mandatory health screenings and atmospheric monitoring for future gatherings. This incident proved our preparation was insufficient for the threats we actually face." His clinical perspective provided the foundation for necessary policy changes. Elena's secure communicator brought updates from the continuing investigation. Marcus Webb had revealed connections to an organized group with cells in multiple star systems, suggesting that the threat to multi-species cooperation extended far beyond one individual's actions. The scope of the conspiracy would require expanded security cooperation between multiple governments and species. Ambassador Krell's improvement allowed him to participate in planning sessions with Queen Isabella and Prime Minister Wells. Elena observed how the shared crisis had created personal bonds between leaders who had previously known each other only through formal diplomatic channels. The attack's failure had paradoxically strengthened the very relationships it was designed to destroy. The medical facility's communication center connected all participants to emergency sessions of the Interspecies Council, where the attack's implications were being debated by representatives from 17 different worlds. Elena listened to the discussions while maintaining her protective duties, recognizing how local security decisions would influence galactic politics. As evening approached, Elena reflected on how a simple glass of water had exposed vulnerabilities that threatened the foundation of interspecies cooperation, while simultaneously demonstrating the strength of relationships built on mutual respect and shared values. The emergency session of the Interspecies Council convened virtually in the medical facility's secure conference room, with Ambassador Krell participating despite his recent ordeal. Elena positioned herself strategically to monitor both the digital participants and the physical environment, aware that the decisions made in the next few hours would influence galactic relations for generations. Queen Isabella's presence alongside the recovering ambassador sent a powerful message about human commitment to their alien allies. Representatives from 17 worlds appeared on the main display, their various forms creating a tapestry of interstellar cooperation that the saboteurs had tried to destroy. Elena noted how Ambassador Krell's calm demeanor and visible recovery undermined the attacker's intended message of vulnerability and fear. His strength in the face of assassination attempts demonstrated the resilience that made interspecies alliances possible. Prime Minister Wells presented the investigation findings with precision that impressed even Elena's military background. Marcus Webb acted as part of a coordinated network with cells on 7 different worlds, funded by corporate interests opposed to the trade agreements. His capture has provided intelligence that will help prevent future attacks. The scope of the conspiracy validated Elena's instincts about the threat's magnitude. Queen Isabella addressed the council with authority that transcended her single world's influence. This attack has revealed vulnerabilities we must address collectively, but it has also proven our unity in protecting each other from those who would divide us through violence. We propose enhanced security cooperation protocols that respect each species' sovereignty while ensuring mutual protection. Ambassador Krell's response carried weight precisely because of his recent experience. The swift action of Queen Isabella's security forces saved not only my life, but demonstrated the practical reality of our alliance. We must strengthen these bonds rather than retreat into isolation. His words resonated across species lines, transforming a security failure into a diplomatic triumph. Elena's communication device signaled an urgent update from the ongoing investigation. The conspiracy had tentacles reaching into corporate boardrooms and political movements across multiple star systems, suggesting that the threat to interspecies cooperation was more extensive than anyone had imagined. The captured saboteur had provided intelligence that would require months to fully process. Dr. Cross joined the conference to present medical findings that would reshape safety protocols for all future multi-species events. The attack used sophisticated knowledge of alien physiology combined with readily available materials, suggesting that similar attempts could be made anywhere our species gathered together. We must implement universal health monitoring and atmospheric controls. The Martian representative, Colonel Frank Mason, contributed military perspective that aligned with Elena's security concerns. Captain Martinez's rapid response prevented a tragedy that could have triggered interspecies conflict. We recommend establishing joint security training programs that prepare personnel for threats we haven't previously considered. His suggestion would formalize the cooperation that had emerged spontaneously during the crisis. Ambassador Krell's aide, Vex, provided cultural context that helped explain why the Zephyrian delegation had initially hesitated to report the pre-event threats. Our species values harmony, and often interprets threat reporting as weakness rather than wisdom. This incident has taught us that protecting our allies requires sharing information that we might prefer to handle privately. Elena listened as the discussion evolved from crisis response to long-term policy development. The attack had forced rapid evolution and multi-species security cooperation, creating frameworks that might have taken years to develop through normal diplomatic channels. Sometimes threat and response created progress that peaceful negotiation couldn't achieve. Queen Isabella's proposal for a joint security task force received unanimous support from the council representatives. Elena realized that she might find herself working directly with alien security forces, a prospect that excited rather than concerned her. The challenge of protecting multi-species events would require skills that no single world could provide. The investigation team's final report revealed the full scope of the conspiracy and its ultimate failure. Marcus Webb and his network had intended to trigger an interspecies incident that would derail the trade negotiations and fuel anti-alien sentiment across human worlds. Instead, their attack had strengthened the very relationships they sought to destroy. Ambassador Krell's complete recovery was confirmed by Dr. Cross's final medical assessment. The diplomat's return to full health provided tangible proof that the attack had failed completely, while the response had demonstrated the strength of interspecies cooperation. Elena watched the ambassador stand and address the council with vigor that belied his recent ordeal. Prime Minister Wells concluded the emergency session with announcements that would reshape diplomatic protocol permanently. The enhanced security measures developed during this crisis will become standard for all multi-species events. Captain Martinez and her team will lead the training program for implementing these new protocols across our alliance. Elena felt the weight of new responsibility settling on her shoulders as the session ended. Her role would expand beyond protecting Queen Isabella to helping safeguard the entire framework of interspecies cooperation. The challenge excited her professional instincts while reinforcing her commitment to the cause that had nearly been damaged. Queen Isabella's private conversation with Ambassador Krell provided the personal touch that transformed diplomatic relations into genuine friendship. Elena observed how the monarch's concern transcended political calculation, creating bonds that would survive future crises. The Queen's character had proven as important as her position in maintaining galactic peace. As the medical facility returned to normal operations, Elena reflected on how a single glass of contaminated water had exposed and ultimately strengthened the foundations of interspecies cooperation. The saboteurs' failure had become a victory for everyone who believed in unity over division. The enhanced security protocols took effect immediately, transforming the royal palace into a model for multi-species event protection that other worlds would emulate for decades. 3 months after the incident, Elena stood in the same ballroom where Ambassador Krell had nearly died, watching Queen Isabella welcome delegates for the signing of the enhanced trade agreements. The ceremony proceeded with enhanced security measures that had become the new standard for interspecies events, but the atmosphere remained warm and celebratory rather than fearful or restrictive. Ambassador Krell cut an impressive figure as he approached the signing table, his complete recovery serving as living proof of the alliance's strength in the face of those who would destroy it. The blue-scaled diplomat had become something of a celebrity across multiple worlds, his survival story inspiring cooperation rather than the division the saboteurs had intended to create. Elena's expanded security team included representatives from 7 different species, each contributing specialized knowledge that made multi-species events safer than ever before. She watched her Zephyrian counterpart Captain Zex monitor atmospheric readings while her Martian colleague Lieutenant Sarah Kim coordinated perimeter security with precision that impressed even Elena's exacting standards. Queen Isabella delivered remarks that had been shaped by the shared experience of crisis and recovery. 3 months ago, we learned that our unity is both precious and strong. Those who would divide us through violence have only succeeded in proving that our cooperation can overcome any threat. Her words carried weight because they had been tested by genuine danger. The signing ceremony proceeded with enhanced protocols that protected everyone present without diminishing the significance of the moment. Elena noted how the various species representatives interacted with comfort that hadn't existed before the attack, as if shared vulnerability had created deeper trust and understanding. Ambassador Krell's speech referenced the incident directly, transforming a potential source of embarrassment into a cornerstone of diplomatic strength. The attempt on my life failed not because of security measures alone, but because this alliance is built on genuine care for each other's welfare. Queen Isabella and Captain Martinez demonstrated that our unity is more than political convenience. Dr. Cross presented the medical monitoring systems that now protected all multi-species gatherings, technology that had been developed rapidly in response to the assassination attempt. His innovations would save lives across the galaxy, turning the saboteurs' weapon into a tool for protecting the very cooperation they had tried to destroy. Elena's communication with the Joint Security Task Force confirmed that the conspiracy network had been completely dismantled across 7 star systems. The cooperation required to achieve this success had created law enforcement partnerships that would continue protecting interspecies relations long after the immediate threat had been neutralized. Prime Minister Wells announced new cultural exchange programs designed to address the underlying prejudices that had made the conspiracy possible. We cannot prevent hatred through security alone. We must build understanding that makes such hatred irrelevant. Her initiative would create lasting change beyond the immediate crisis response. The ceremony concluded with Ambassador Krell and Queen Isabella sharing a toast using the same type of glasses that had nearly triggered interspecies catastrophe. The symbolic gesture was protected by atmospheric monitoring systems that made contamination impossible, transforming a moment of former vulnerability into one of demonstrated strength. Elena watched the reception that followed, noting how delegates from different species mingled with casual comfort that hadn't existed before the attack. Shared danger had created bonds that formal diplomacy alone could never have achieved, turning the conspiracy's failure into a foundation for deeper cooperation. The investigation's final report had been released to all participating worlds, providing transparency that strengthened rather than undermined confidence in the security measures. Elena's detailed analysis had become required reading for security personnel across multiple star systems, her experience serving as the foundation for protecting future events. Ambassador Krell approached Elena personally as the reception wound down, his translator conveying gratitude that transcended species barriers. Captain Martinez, your quick thinking saved more than my life. You preserved the future that our children will inherit together. His words carried the weight of personal conviction shaped by shared experience. Queen Isabella's closing remarks to the assembled delegates reflected on the journey from crisis to triumph. We have learned that our greatest strength lies not in avoiding conflict, but in how we respond to it together. The bonds forged in crisis will serve us well in building the peaceful future we all desire. Elena's secure communicator brought news that the joint security training program she would lead had received approval from all participating worlds. Her role would continue evolving as threats and responses shaped the future of interspecies cooperation. The challenge excited her sense of purpose while honoring the commitment that had defined her career. As the delegates departed for their respective worlds, Elena reflected on how a simple glass of water had revealed both the fragility and strength of interspecies relations. The saboteurs' attempt to destroy cooperation had instead created innovation, partnership, and understanding that would protect future generations. The ballroom returned to its normal, elegant emptiness, but Elena knew that it had become something more than a ceremonial space. It had witnessed the moment when multiple species proved their commitment to each other in the face of genuine threat, creating a foundation for the continuing expansion of galactic civilization. Queen Isabella's final words to Elena carried the personal weight of shared experience. Captain, your service to the Crown has become service to all our allied species. The protection you provide extends far beyond these walls to encompass the future of peaceful cooperation itself. Elena stood at attention as Queen Isabella departed, knowing that her duty had evolved from protecting a single monarch to safeguarding the framework of interspecies civilization itself. The responsibility was vast, but so was the satisfaction of knowing that her work would help countless beings live in peace and prosperity. The simple drink that had nearly changed an alien's fate had instead changed the fate of multiple worlds, transforming potential catastrophe into the foundation for unprecedented cooperation and security that would protect the galaxy's peaceful future for generations to come.